He was imprisoned by his biological father for 24 years, suffered 387 assaults, became pregnant 13 times, was forced to abort 5 times, and thus only gave birth to 7 children. You wouldn't believe it, but this is a movie based on a true event that happened in a certain country, known as the Fritzl case. The content is so real that those with a weak psychological tolerance should watch with caution. Tang is a hot-tempered old man with a strong desire for control. One evening, Sarah wanted to attend a classmate's party, but Pang-Q angrily refused to let her go. However, Sarah had already promised her boyfriend and didn't want to break her word, so she sneaked out. Unexpectedly, the next morning, when her boyfriend brought her home, her father had been waiting at the door all night. It turned out that Sarah was discovered by her father as soon as she left last night, and now he caught her fooling around with a boy. Tang criticized his daughter, and the sulking Sarah complained to her sister, saying that once she turned 18, she would leave his home, travel the world with her boyfriend, and never come back. But little did she know, her father overheard her. He was a man with an extreme desire for control, ruling the house with an iron fist. When he said one, no one dared to say two, and a mere glare from him could send chills down his wife's spine. Only this youngest daughter constantly opposed him. Now she dared to stay out all night and even wanted to run away with someone else. Was she growing wings? This made her extremely angry. To punish his disobedient daughter and prevent her from running away, Tang thought of an extreme solution. He went to the basement and opened a hidden door. It was an air raid shelter built by the previous owner, known only to him. With a little modification, it could become a cage. 3 months passed, and in a few days, it would be Sarah's 18th birthday. Her mother was going out to prepare adult items for Sarah. The opportunity came. While his wife was away, Tang asked Sarah to help move a box into the basement. When she discovered there was a hidden room inside, Sarah found it unbelievable and didn't notice her father's trick. Tang took advantage of his daughter's trust. What do you think? Not good. No windows. That's terrible. Dad, what are you doing? Sarah began to scream desperately, but the specially modified back door had excellent soundproofing. Even if she screamed her lungs out, nothing could be heard outside. Seeing her father leave, Sarah finally realized something was wrong, but she still couldn't believe her father would imprison her. She hurriedly opened the box that was moved in and found it was full of her clothes and daily necessities. Only then did she realize everything was planned by her father. A wave of fear instantly surged in her heart. After an ineffective call for help, Sarah found a combination lock nearby. Unfortunately, after several attempts, not only did she fail to open the door, but it also caused a power outage in the room. This was deliberately designed by Tang. If the wrong code is entered 3 times, the room will immediately lose power, and even the ventilation system will stop to prevent Sarah from trying to escape. She changes the code every day. Sarah has no way to escape. Meanwhile, her mother noticed Sarah hadn't come home all day and started to worry about her daughter. Tang lied, saying she must have snuck out to a party like last time. Sarah's sister thought the same, believing Sarah would return by morning. By noon the next day, there was still no sign of Sarah. Her mother, worried, called the police for help. The officer investigated all of Sarah's friends, but they all said they hadn't seen her. Tang took the opportunity to mislead the officer, covering up the truth. He said Sarah had always talked about running away, and since her backpack and clothes were missing, she must have really run away this time. Hearing this, the officer would never suspect Tang of harming his own daughter. Moreover, the officer had encountered many similar cases where most kids eventually returned on their own. So, he advised them to wait at home. Meanwhile, the police would continue searching outside. Tang successfully sent the officer away and went to the basement. Sarah heard the door open and immediately hid. Seizing the moment before Tang closed the door, she suddenly rushed out, knocking him aside. She thought she could escape, but to her dismay, there was another locked door outside. The place was soundproofed, so even if she screamed, no one outside could hear. Tang grabbed Sarah by the hair and forcefully dragged her back to the room. Sarah asked Tang why he was doing this to her. Tang warned Sarah that as long as she behaved, she would be provided with a good living condition. Otherwise, she would face severe punishment. Seeing Sarah still defiant, Tang decided to teach his daughter a lesson. This part couldn't be cut, so they had to use a mosaic to cover the brutal lesson. Afterward, Lisa curled up in the corner, desperate and in pain. From that moment on, Tang was no longer her father but a monster. Unexpectedly, this monster was quite pleased with himself. Even when Sarah's boyfriend came looking, Tang said Sarah had eloped with a neighbor a few days ago, telling him to give up on Sarah and stop looking for a girlfriend who betrayed him. He had no choice but to leave disappointed. On the 7th day of Sarah's captivity, it was her 18th birthday. Stingy Tang only bought her a mini. Sarah blew out the candle with resentment. Old Tang took out the gift he had prepared for her, a red dress. As long as Sarah wore it, Tang would grant her one wish. Of course, except for the wish to leave here. Sarah said she wanted a clock so she could feel the passage of time in this dark basement. Tang happily agreed. Then he ordered Sarah to come to him voluntarily and told her not to call him Dad anymore, but to address him by his name as a lover. Although Sarah felt disgusted, she had no choice but to comply. Later, Sarah tried to attack him, using a sharp-kin lid as a weapon, aiming for Tang's throat. But in front of her father, it was all in vain, and it only led to more brutal treatment. Tang said that from the moment she started breathing, he knew what she was thinking. A year passed, and the once empty little room now had a lot of furniture, indicating that Sarah had suffered countless times. She was also pregnant because of it. As her water broke, signaling the birth, Tang was not around. All she could do was follow the knowledge from books, hide in a corner, and give birth alone, taking deep breaths, then using all her strength, screaming to distract from the pain. After much effort, Sarah gave birth to her first child in this dark basement. Looking at her daughter, Sarah felt a mix of joy and sorrow. with complex emotions surging in her heart. However, the moment Tang saw the child, Sarah felt deep helplessness and despair, not knowing how to face the child's future. Besides providing food and supplies, Tang couldn't offer any help. All the burdens fell on Sarah's shoulders. Sarah picked up a fruit knife to try to attack Tang, but she put it down again, knowing that under Tang's tyranny, she would fail and be beaten again. 4 difficult years passed, and Sarah was pregnant again. She no longer had the stubbornness she had when she first came in. Every time old Tang came, she would eagerly please him, fulfilling all his perverted demands, hoping that one day he would show mercy and let her and her daughter go. But in Sarah's daughter's eyes, Tang was her dad. Innocently, she thought she had a wonderful family, not knowing that he was her mother's father. Tang happily shuttled between the two families. Sarah's mother never gave up searching for Sarah, but the police still had no clues. She wanted to hire a private detective, but all the family's money was in Tang's hands. Whenever this was brought up, Tang would become furious, outwardly saying he didn't want to waste money, but actually fearing exposure. Unaware, Sarah's mother had no way to help. Christmas came, and Tang brought a gift. After he left, Sarah was thrilled. It's been years since I followed a series. Now, following a series is no longer a luxury. In the 7th year, due to living in a confined space for so long and lacking nutrition, both of his children have poor health. Worse, the eldest daughter suffers from severe asthma. Tang is completely irresponsible, buying them medicine meant for adults. Sarah pleaded with him to see a doctor outside, but all she got in return was indifference time and again. To avoid scaring the children, she had to bury all her grievances deep inside and use her gentlest side to lull them to sleep. But as the children grew up and became more aware, they wanted to explore the outside world. Trapped, Sarah had no choice but to lose her temper with them. This small space became their imagined zoo. Meanwhile, Sarah's boyfriend passed by and asked how Sarah was doing. Years ago, Tang told her that Sarah had eloped with a neighbor. Now, isn't Sarah missing? Why did Tang lie to Sarah's boyfriend? This led the sister to suspect that the father's involved in the sister's disappearance. He quickly told his mother about it. From then on, the mother no longer tolerated everything. Even if Tang got angry, he wanted to find out why Tang lied. While the two were arguing, Tang left his keys on the sofa. The sister quickly picked them up and rushed to the basement. Since Sarah's disappearance, Tang used work as an excuse to keep everyone out. But after searching for a long time, the sister found nothing and was caught by her father. The eldest daughter said it must have been the father who drove the sister away. Tang warned her that if she dared to upset him again, he might drive her away too. The eldest daughter left in tears. Tang was a bit panicked. If things continued like this, the truth would come out sooner or later. Unsure of what to do, Sarah gave him an idea. With the birth of the 3rd child, the small basement could no longer accommodate the 4 of them. Sarah wanted Tang to take the child upstairs to raise. Tang thought it was a good idea and immediately agreed. This would not only dispel his wife's suspicions but also stop her from looking for Sarah, allowing his abusive behavior to continue. The next morning, the mother heard a baby crying, opened the door, and saw a baby at the doorstep with a note from Sarah on top. She claimed her financial situation was poor and hoped the mother could help take care of the child, asking the mother and sister not to look for her anymore. Seeing it was Sarah's child, the mother happily took the baby inside, not noticing a note for help in the basket. However, the unfortunate part was that the careful Tang found the note. It read, "Mom, help. I was imprisoned in the basement by my father. Call the police quickly." This led to Sarah being beaten and abused again. In the blink of an eye, several more years passed. The daughter had grown into a beautiful young woman, and the son had become a handsome young man. Lisa was pregnant with her 4th child. Tang hadn't come for a long time. When he saw the graceful daughter, his eyes were full of greed. Sarah sensed something was wrong and immediately called her daughter over. Because she knew this demon was capable of anything, she couldn't just watch the tragedy happen again. But after resisting, they faced a power and gas outage. The daughter, who had asthma, could only breathe through the vent. Just then, it suddenly started raining heavily outside, and it rained for several days, causing rainwater to start seeping into the basement. Sarah was overjoyed because this meant the leak could lead outside. She stood on the table with her big belly and dug bit by bit with a spoon. Fortunately, the ceiling had been softened by the rainwater, so it wasn't very hard to dig. Soon, she dug a big hole. She used a flashlight to send out a distress signal. At this time, a neighbor walking their dog passed by. They saw the light, but they didn't go over to take a closer look and even told him about it. Sarah's only chance to get out was gone. Tang came to the basement furiously, and Sarah suffered the worst beating yet. This time, the child in her belly was also lost. Tang looked at the lifeless state in front of him and didn't say a word to comfort his daughter. After taking it away, he buried it under a big tree. The evil tree had no ripples in its heart, only Sarah crying in despair. In the blink of an eye, Sarah had been imprisoned for 18 years. Tang's job was not going well, and he was about to face unemployment. He vented all his emotions on Sarah. Deliberately in front of the children, he praised the younger son, saying how well he lived outside, playing baseball and soccer. Already curious about the outside world, they wanted to go out even more. But old Tang said the decision was in their mother's hands, and whether they could go out depended entirely on her behavior. The 2 children turned their anger towards Sarah. They believed that being trapped here was all because of their mother. Sarah couldn't take it anymore. She had endured all the grievances alone to protect them for so many years. Now, they turned into ungrateful wretches because of a few words. Sarah was so angry that she lay on the ground, holding her head and crying. This time, they stopped being unreasonable, covered their mother with a blanket, and took the initiative to do the housework. After Sarah calmed down, they apologized to their mother. She decided to tell them the truth. Her father was actually your father too. He is both your father and your grandfather, Tang Zhang. They were imprisoned here. After hearing this, they found it hard to accept the fact. At the same time, He also understood how hard it was for his mother. When Tang bullied Sarah again, the son immediately stood up, showing a defiant expression, ready to fight him. But his small frame was no match for old Tang. He was easily pushed away. After this incident, Tang came up with an even more sinister idea. He connected a pipe to the basement vent, with the other end attached to the car's exhaust pipe, planning to silently eliminate them in their sleep with car exhaust. Having been laid off, he did this just to ease financial pressure. Fortunately, at the critical moment, the younger son arrived, scaring Tang into turning off the car, forcing him to stop the murder. The three who were sleeping soundly narrowly escaped, but the daughter, who had asthma, was still affected, and her condition was worsening. Tang, however, was upstairs having a barbecue with his family. Regular medicine was no longer effective. As the situation became more urgent, Tang finally appeared. Lisa knelt in front of Tang, begging him to take their daughter to the hospital. Initially, Tang refused no matter what, until Lisa and the daughter shouted that phrase, awakening a sliver of conscience in the beast. They left the son there, and Tang secretly took them out. After 20 years, Sarah finally saw her home again. But her daughter's condition didn't allow her to reminisce slowly. They had to rush to the hospital immediately. Fortunately, after emergency treatment, the daughter was out of danger. Sarah's anxious heart was finally at ease. She decided to seek help, not wanting to miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. At this moment, the doctor approached. They couldn't find any medical records for the daughter, so they asked Tang to provide her information. As time ticked by, the chance to call for help was right there. But Sarah was terrified and ultimately didn't have the courage to shout for help to the doctor. After the doctor left, Sarah's mind raced, trying to come up with a plan. She told Tang she wanted to go to the restroom, using it as an excuse to seek help, but Tang firmly refused, telling her to hold it. Sarah thought of a plan, and while Tang wasn't paying attention, she secretly spilled water on the information sheet. Tang told her to wait there while he went to get a new form. The opportunity had come. Seeing Tang at the reception desk, Sarah mustered the courage to take the first step and seek help. Meanwhile, Tang had already noticed Sarah's attempt to escape. Even though Tang shouted loudly from behind, she didn't stop. Although if she failed to escape, she would be doomed. Until she saw a police officer in the distance, she quickly walked towards the officer. Old Tang realized things were going south, and when faced with the approaching officer, he pretended as if nothing was wrong. Looking clueless, he still planned to sneak out of the hospital, but the officer had already caught up. No matter how arrogant, twisted, vicious, or beastly he was, he ultimately couldn't escape the law's punishment. In the real case, he was sentenced to life imprisonment for his crimes. Losing his freedom forever, Sarah was finally saved. He and his daughter hugged and cried, finally free from the clutches of evil. When the son was rescued, everyone at home was stunned. They never expected that the person they had been searching for was right under their noses. They couldn't imagine that their own family member could be such a twisted demon. Months later, the children were finally able to play soccer. Their faces beamed with happiness. Sarah also finally found her hard-earned happiness. Just then, she suddenly heard a motorcycle. The boyfriend she had longed for day and night for 20 years finally appeared. For Sarah, he had remained unmarried. Sarah could finally marry him, have children, travel the world, and fulfill that birthday wish that was 20 years overdue.